Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers the right to film, obstruction, and First Amendment retaliation, and is brought to us by Chi-Town Sue and Lackluster's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On April 27, 2018, Officer Joseph Bonkowski of the Justice Police Department was conducting a search on a detained individual in the village of Justice in Cook County, Illinois. The reason for this stop is unknown, and it is unclear whether Officer Bonkowski had the underlying suspicion necessary to detain the individual or search his person. During the detention, the suspect ran off, and Officer Bonkowski pursued him on foot.
Where are you guys coming from?
What'd I do, sir?
Coming from the train tracks?
What'd I do, sir?
Huh?
What did I do?
Officer Bonkowski was joined in the pursuit by his partner, Corporal DeBella, and local resident Sue Stiegler, who was a member of a government watchdog group, noticed the officers from her home. Because Justice police officers did not normally patrol her neighborhood, Miss Stiegler decided to monitor and film their actions.
You need help?
Where's Ironwood at?
Ironwood. Very first street. You should get in your car because it's all at the end.
My car's way down there.
It's right there. Ironwood's the next street over.
Why are you recording me?
Why not? You're in my park with no jurisdiction. So I'm just curious to know. You don't have any jurisdiction in here. What's going on? Where's the lights and sirens?
What is it?
Yo, go in your house!
Hell no. I live around here. Can I help you? You guys looking for somebody? Maybe I saw somebody.
Get the fuck out of here if you get arrested!
You, dude, what are you gonna arrest me for? Being held accountable for you, bro.
I'm telling you, you're gonna get arrested!
I dare you.
Oh, run, man.
That's right.
Back up, you understand? You're gonna get arrested, you understand?
For what?
Get going!
For what?
Get going now!
Why are you gonna arrest me?
You're gonna get arrested, I'm telling you
I've
right
already
now!
dealt with your sergeant. Thank
You already know that.
I've already dealt with your
I'm
sergeant.
giving you
Thank
fair warning, you keep following us, you're
I'm
gonna
allowed
get arrested!
to follow. Now you're
You
following me.
understand?
Officer Bonkowski screams at Ms. Stiegler to stop, quote-unquote, following the officers and go back inside her home or he will arrest her. When Ms. Stiegler refuses, he grabs her cell phone and throws it. In the 2012 case of ACLU of Illinois versus Alvarez, the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, which has jurisdiction over Illinois, held that enforcing the Illinois eavesdropping statute, which at the time prohibited audio recording any conversation without the consent of all parties, against individuals who openly recorded law enforcement officers engaged in their official duties in public places, violated the First Amendment. In reaching this conclusion, the 7th Circuit determined that, quote, the act of making an audio or audiovisual recording is necessarily included within the First Amendment's guarantee of speech and press rights as a corollary of the right to disseminate the resulting recording. The right to publish or broadcast an audio or audiovisual recording would be insecure or largely ineffective if the antecedent act of making the recording is wholly unprotected. However, the court also noted that, quote, it goes without saying that the police may take all reasonable steps to maintain safety and control, secure crime scenes and accident sites, and protect the integrity and confidentiality of investigations. While an officer surely cannot issue a quote-unquote move-on order to a person because he is recording, the police may order bystanders to disperse for reasons related to public safety and order and other legitimate law enforcement needs. Nothing we have said here immunizes behavior that obstructs or interferes with effective law enforcement or the protection of public safety. According to Section 31-1A of Article 5 of Title 720 of the Illinois compiled statutes, quote, a person who knowingly obstructs the performance by one known to the person to be a peace officer of any authorized act within his or her official capacity commits a Class A misdemeanor. As the 2nd District Appellate Court of Illinois explained in the 2011 case of People v. Kotlinski, quote, passive acts that impede an officer's ability to perform his duties, such as repeatedly refusing an order to exit a vehicle, can be a violation of Section 31-1A. In fact, fact, in the 1969 case of City of Chicago versus Meyer, the Supreme Court of Illinois held that a citizen may be found guilty of resisting or obstructing a police officer in the performance of his duty merely by stating that he will not move on when requested to do so by a police officer. Accordingly, it is certainly possible that an individual's refusal to comply with a law enforcement order to quote-unquote go home could also constitute obstruction under Illinois law. However, as the First District Appellate Court of Illinois highlighted in the 1968 case of People versus Young, quote, the provision covers only resistance or obstruction to authorized acts of the officer. In the Young case, the court determined that a citizen could not be convicted of obstructing an illegal search of her home. As such, Ms. Stiegler could only be convicted of obstruction if a court concluded that Officer Bonkowski was within his legal authority to order Ms. Stiegler to stop filming and go back inside her home.
You understand?
Yeah, piece of shit.
Okay? Now go back in your house or you're getting arrested. You understand?
For what? I'm walking around my neighborhood.
Now we're dealing with something serious. I'm telling you, you're gonna get arrested.
For what?
Put your hands behind your back now.
For what?
Put your hands behind your back.
For filming? Walking around my park? I can't even come through here?
We're coming into the park now where you want.
You got a supervisor, please?
Well, we're dealing with something serious. You ain't gonna follow us. You understand that?
I'm just watching.
Let's go to obstructing. You understand?
It's not if I'm just watching, I'm not in your way.
I don't care. You ain't gonna film us and follow us. Or we're dealing with somebody with a possible gun. You understand?
Tell me that. Tell me that.
I told you.
You told me to go in. You didn't say possible gun. I would have been gone.
So now if I let you out of this cuffs, are you gonna go in your house? Or do you want to get arrested?
Sure, I'll go in my house.
All right. I'm dealing with something more serious than fucking dealing with you.
And you're gonna deal with me.
Yeah, you fucking pull. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, you're gonna get arrested then. That's fine.
Officer Bonkowski initially tells Ms. Stiegler that he will release her if she agrees to go inside her home, then changes his mind and tells her she will be arrested. In general, the First Amendment prohibits government officials from taking retaliatory actions, such as arrests and criminal prosecutions, against citizens for engaging in protected speech, including filming police officers engaged in their duties in public. As the Supreme Court explained in the 2006 case of Hartman versus Moore, quote, if an official takes adverse action against someone based on that forbidden motive and non-retaliatory grounds are in fact insufficient to provoke the adverse consequences, the injured person may generally seek relief by bringing a First Amendment claim. To prevail on such a claim, a plaintiff must establish a so-called causal connection between the government defendant's so-called retaliatory animus and the plaintiff's so-called subsequent injury. The court also clarified that, quote, it is not enough to show that an official acted with a retaliatory motive and that the plaintiff was injured. The motive must cause the injury. Specifically, it must be a but-for cause, meaning that the adverse action against the plaintiff would not have been taken absent the retaliatory motive. Applying this standard, the court ultimately held that in order to succeed in a retaliatory prosecution case, a plaintiff must prove the absence of probable cause for the underlying criminal charge. Relying on this precedent, the Supreme Court later determined in the 2019 case of Nieves versus Bartlett that individuals who file retaliatory arrest claims must also prove that the officers who arrested them did not have probable cause to arrest them. This means that even if an individual is ultimately acquitted of the crime they are arrested for, their retaliatory arrest claim will fail if a court concludes that the arresting officer objectively had probable cause to arrest them for any criminal charge, even if it is not the crime the officer arrested the individual for at the time. Accordingly, if Ms. Stiegler were to pursue a retaliatory arrest claim, she would need to prove that they did not have any probable cause to arrest her in the first place.
One wearing a black coat, second and...
You just want to with us.
How am I f***ing with your recording? UCLA versus Alnita Alvarez. I'm allowed to record.
What fucking cases you fucking know?
Of course
Understand? But you ain't gonna
care about the law.
you ain't gonna follow us.
All I am doing is walking around the park. I saw you guys coming. Then I figured I'm gonna
I
follow
see you
and
following
what's
one of
going
my
on.
other officers.
Yeah, because I was walking
creeping
around.
up on him on the side of the trailer. I seen you.
I ran back in my
Camera
yard. In my yard, and I wasn't anywhere near him. Supreme Court says 10 feet. I'm way beyond 10 feet.
I don't give a. You
Never
ain't gonna
go up
follow
to
us.
any police
You ain't gonna
officer like
follow
that.
us. You understand that?
Whatever. Okay.
Yeah, whatever.
Ms. Stiegler claims that the Supreme Court, quote, says 10 feet, and that she was much further away from the officers than 10 feet while she was filming them. As of the date of writing this episode, the Supreme Court has not issued an opinion regarding the constitutionality of filming the police, so Ms. Stiegler is likely referring to the 2011 case of Glick versus Kniff, where the First Circuit Court of Appeals first recognized the right of citizens to record the police in the performance of their duties. In that case, the First Circuit determined that an individual who was recording an arrest in a public park from about 10 feet away was acting within the bounds of the First Amendment's protections, stating that, now quoting, Glick filmed the officers from a comfortable remove and neither spoke to nor molested them in any way except in directly responding to the officers when they addressed him. However, it's important to note that the Glick case did not create a categorical rule that individuals can always film officers in public as long as they are 10 feet away. Rather, as the First Circuit explained in the 2014 case of Gericke versus Begin, quote, reasonable restrictions on the exercise of the right to film may be imposed when the circumstances justify them, with the reasonableness of any particular restriction being determined based on the specific circumstances of the situation. Therefore, while Ms. Stiegler's distance from the officers would certainly be an important factor in evaluating whether the restriction on her filming was reasonable, it would not be entirely dispositive. Still, Ms. Stiegler's conduct in filming was similar to the Glick's, and as the First Circuit noted in the Glick case, quote, such peaceful recording of an arrest in a public space that does not interfere with the police officer's performance of their duties is not reasonably subject to limitation. Although Ms. Stiegler was not filming the completion of arrest, she was clearly filming the officers in performance of their duties in public, and given the strong protection that courts have recognized for non-disruptive recording of police officers, it seems unlikely that a court would conclude that Ms. Stiegler could be convicted of obstruction for her conduct.
I'm gonna talk to my sergeant, see if he wants you arrested.
For what? Filming?
Damn f***ing right.
He said I can go on a thing with him and videotape the whole thing if I want.
You got an ID on you?
Nope.
What's your name? Give me a fake name, you're f***ing getting arrested.
Yeah, I know, I'm not dumb. So, but
I'll charge you with that too. I'll charge you with that too.
Tell me a crime that I've committed. Would you tell me a crime? Once you hear from your sergeant, I want somebody bigger than you then. If you're going to be mean to me for filming.
You can't follow simple directions, right?
I'm allowed to do it. I wasn't anywhere near you people.
I don't know who the f*** you are for one or for two. You ain't gonna follow us. You understand that? You understand that? I don't care who the hell you are. You ain't gonna follow us.
Okay.
All right? When some f***ing guy pulled out a gun on me. What's your name?
What's my crime?
What's your name?
I'm not going to tell you my name unless I've committed a crime. I haven't done anything wrong.
That's fine. I'm walking this way, and she's creeping up behind one of my officers,
creeping. I was
filming them.
Cool as hell.
And then she wants to fucking keep
no
following us. I don't care. I don't know who you are. So
you
shut
don't have
your mouth.
to know. I'm
right?
not committing a crime. I don't match a description to any of your things, and I'm allowed to record you guys.
You surely ain't hella gonna follow us. I'll tell you that. Because I don't know who the you are if you got any weapons.
I'm trying to
and
see what's going on.
Okay?
I'm trying to see what's going on. Well, now that you know I don't have any weapons and what I'm doing, which is not
I don't know.
illegal.
I didn't search you yet.
Go ahead, search me.
No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Fifth Amendment. How about
I don't need a lawsuit, okay?
Exactly.
Exactly. I ain't stupid,
Please detain
okay?
me for no crime.
All you people think you want to
People.
that you think you know the law, right?
Hold you accountable.
Yeah, just so you can try catching a few dollars, right?
Yeah.
Oh, let's sue the department. Let's sue the department.
I have no money to sue.
You guys are losers, man.
You're a loser, dude.
Coming from running back this way, Mac, I see her creeping up on DeBella.
Making up
back
the word
here.
creep. I was
back here.
Plenty of room away.
Got a camera, back creeping up. So she approached me. I'm trying to keep running this way, and she's following me. Keeps following me. I told her, you're going to get arrested. Go back in your house. Keeps following me. So I stopped her and detained her.
Do you have any idea what we were doing?
I know. I told her it's a fucking serious crime going on, and she keeps following me.
She didn't say anything about a serious crime.
We don't have to tell you anything.
No, you
Do you
don't.
understand that?
But I also can't record. Can I have your sergeant, the other guy?
I am the
guy
sergeant.
with the white hair?
I am the
because
sergeant.
I dealt with him
Listen
multiple
to me.
times.
Listen to
and
me. If you're told to get back, we're chasing somebody with a gun.
Okay,
you
well, let me
understand
know that. You say gun.
I told you.
You did not. Body cam it. No, you didn't. You didn't tell me nothing.
Everything's
I will
recorded.
be
I'm not worried about it.
all of
Okay.
that. Yes, I will be for you requesting all
I'm not
of
worried about it. Mac, do you want her arrested for it?
All I was doing was
I tried giving her fair warning.
I didn't creep on anybody. They were in
She wants to keep following me, keep following me. I don't know if she has a weapon on her. I don't know who she is, and she's following me.
in my yard, sitting on my porch, and I just saw.
What's your name?
She won't give it to me. Take her?
What crime?
Obstructing identification and obstructing.
But you can't.
Go.
I haven't committed a crime.
Sergeant Michael McNamara tells Officer Bonkowski to arrest Ms. Stiegler for, and I'm quoting, obstructing identification and obstructing. As we discussed earlier, it is unlikely that a court would conclude Ms. Stiegler's actions constituted obstructing under Illinois law. Regarding the so-called obstructing identification charge, according to Section 31-4.5 of Article 5 of Title 720 of the Illinois compiled statutes, quote, a person commits the offense of obstructing identification when he or she intentionally or knowingly party furnishes a false or fictitious name, residence address, or date of birth to a peace officer who has lawfully arrested the person, lawfully detained the person, or requested the information from a person that the peace officer has good cause to believe is a witness to a criminal offense. Because Ms. Stiegler only refused to provide her name and did not furnish a false or fictitious name, it is highly unlikely that a court would conclude that she could be convicted of violating this statute. On March 27, 2020, Ms. Stiegler filed a federal lawsuit for claims of First Amendment retaliatory arrest and prosecution and unreasonable seizure under the Fourth Amendment. The lawsuit alleged that Officer Bonkowski submitted a false report to the prosecutors claiming that Ms. Stiegler obstructed him, which induced the prosecutors to bring charges against her. The complaint also claims that at Ms. Stiegler's trial, the judge reviewed Officer Bonkowski's body-worn camera after he testified and, quote-unquote, immediately acquitted Ms. Stiegler, and Lackluster reported that it took 13 months for her case to make it to trial. Because Cook County has not made its criminal court records publicly available online, I have been unable to independently confirm any details regarding the criminal prosecution against Ms. Stiegler. On January 5, 2022, a settlement agreement was reached, and Ms. Stiegler dismissed her claims in exchange for an undisclosed amount of compensation. It is unclear whether any disciplinary action was taken against Officer Bonkowski or Sergeant McNamara, but Lackluster reported that the Justice Police Department claimed that an internal investigation found that the conduct of one of the involved employees was contrary to the policy and procedures of this department, and that, now quoting, appropriate disciplinary action has been administered. However, no additional information regarding this alleged disciplinary action has been made publicly available. Overall, Officer Bonkowski gets an F for maintaining an aggressive and violent demeanor throughout the encounter, demonstrating complete contempt for Ms. Stiegler's First Amendment rights, and claiming that the fleeing suspect had a gun when his own body camera footage shows otherwise. Although we do not know why the officers were detaining the original suspect, it is conceivable that Officer Bonkowski may have had the legal authority to order Ms. Stiegler inside her home in certain circumstances for her own protection. However, Officer Bonkowski demonstrated through multiple statements, and by throwing her phone to stop her recording, that his actions were motivated by his dislike of Ms. Stiegler following and filming him, and not any concerns about her safety, and his claims that the suspect had a firearm appear to be a fabrication. As the First Circuit explained in the Glick versus Kniff case we discussed in this episode, quote, "In our society, police officers are expected to endure significant burdens caused by citizens' exercise of their First Amendment rights. The same restraint demanded of law enforcement officers in the face of so-called provocative and challenging speech must be expected when they are merely the subject of videotaping that memorializes, without impairing, their work in public spaces." In this encounter, Officer Bonkowski utterly failed to comply with this expectation. Sergeant McNamara also gets an F for sanctioning Officer Bonkowski's actions, ordering him to arrest Ms. Stiegler even after he learned that she was simply filming, and claiming that Ms. Stiegler obstructed identification when she clearly did not provide a false name. When he arrived on the scene, Sergeant McNamara had an opportunity to make things right and release Ms. Stiegler. However, he instead made an independent decision that she should be arrested, and in the process demonstrated either a clear lack of knowledge regarding the requirements of the obstructing identification statute and the First Amendment, or a deliberate indifference to Ms. Stiegler's constitutional rights. Ms. Stiegler gets an A-, because although her arguments regarding a so-called 10-foot rule for filming were not entirely accurate, she effectively and persistently exercised her First Amendment rights, remained relatively calm and respectful while Officer Bonkowski screamed at her, and took appropriate action after the encounter by defending herself against criminal charges and filing a civil rights lawsuit. As it took more than a year for her criminal case to be resolved, it is impressive that Ms. Stiegler was willing to seek out additional legal battles by pursuing a civil rights lawsuit after her acquittal, and I commend Ms. Stiegler for her strong commitment to the Constitution and police accountability. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out my second channel for even more police interaction content.